Hey guys, my name is Zach. Welcome to my channel, Collecting Weekly. This week we're going to ramble on cold cathode lightsabers. I've seen a few people in some different groups asking about them, and as an owner of four CCFL lightsabers, I wanted to talk about some of the pros, some of the cons, the pricing, where to buy them at. I'll be totally honest, I don't have any information about how to make them. So if you're watching this video to learn how to build them, I can probably link you in the description a guy that did some for a 6-inch Black Series figures. But aside from that, like I said, I've had them for about 6 months, and they're really, in my opinion, the best way to take your collection to the next level. I know a lot of people are doing like dioramas and all kinds of different backdrops for their figures, but to me, the money I think is best spent on these. The lightsaber is such an iconic look, and if you're using a Hot Toys LED, you just really don't get the proper effect, both in terms of the lighting of the actual saber itself and the lighting that is given to the character. So you can see here I have a Darth Vader and an Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. The Darth Vader lightsaber was made by Pixel Piper on the Sideshow Freaks forum, and the Anakin Skywalker lightsaber was made by Lenny Hugh on Facebook. Lenny is currently my go-to guy for sabers. I think Pixel Piper is actually not making them for the foreseeable future. And so so Lenny is the guy that I really send everyone to when they're looking to buy cold cathode sabers. Now, I won't lie to you, the cost is somewhat significant for these. It's not a cheap upgrade by any means. I believe for the saber, which the price included the dimmer, that was $90, and that doesn't include shipping both ways, and it doesn't include the hilt itself. Generally speaking, to order one of these, you'll contact whoever's going to make it for you. You'll mail them the hilt of your choice and select a blade color. They'll permanently affix the cold cathode tube to your lightsaber and then send it back, along with, obviously the power supplies and the dimmers. And for Lenny, that process normally takes about 3 to 4 weeks. Right now, he's not taking commissions until February to catch up on a huge commission from a customer that sent him a bunch of sabers. But Lenny, like I said, when he is going to start up again in February, he's definitely the guy that I would recommend personally to build your lightsabers. Really great guy, really good with communication, giving you updates on the process, work in progress pictures, etc. Really, really good guy. I can't say enough good things about Lenny. He did, like I said, the Anakin saber here, and then I also have a Return of the Jedi Luke. Excuse me, I had a little bit of a coughing fit. But Lenny has done this beautiful Anakin saber for me, and he's also done a Return of the Jedi Luke green lightsaber, which I'll show you shortly. But like I said, really great guy to work with. In the future, if I ever needed more sabers, I wouldn't hesitate to go with him. Now, basically, these sabers, like I said, they're wall powered, so they're connected into your wall power. So they don't ever dim over time. The life output for these, I think I've heard, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000 hours. So you're not going to burn the bulbs out, in any short amount of time. And they're dimmed in one of two ways. You could, of course, just have them straight into the wall where they're always going to be at 100%, which I really wouldn't recommend doing. They do get quite warm at 100% for long periods of time. When I bought the Vader saber from Pixel Piper, he used a remote dimmer, which worked okay for a while, but it started to fail, and at this point it doesn't really work at all. But Lenny uses... I believe he only uses a potentiometer style dimmer, which what that is, it's just a little knob that you turn to adjust the brightness of the saber. And what you're looking at here is about maybe 30% brightness for both of these lightsabers. If I turn it up to 100, it'll really wash out the camera, so I'm not going to do that. But just keep in mind what you're seeing is a small percentage of what the total power of these sabers can be in terms of the brightness. You can kind of see back here there's a little bit of wiring that's coming out of both figures, and those are the wires both for the Vader chest and belt lights, and also the wires for both sabers. Those could definitely be hidden better. I'm just kind of lazy, and when my cabinet closes, it has, a frame that hides that wiring, so it's really not that annoying for me. But yeah, so they're wired, and like I said, if you're going to go with a different person, or if you're going to try to make these yourself, I highly recommend going with the potentiometer style dimmer. They just work infinitely better than the remotes, in my opinion. I never could get those remotes to work that well, and it got to the point where I ended up bypassing them, and that was a kind of a pain in the ass in itself. They are, like I said, really, really good upgrades. Now, there are some cons to these. The first one being is wire management. You're going to have to wire these, either through the characters' outfits or behind the characters' outfits. In Vader and Anakin's case here, it's actually not that bad. But for Jedi Luke and the DX07, which I will pan down and show you guys here in a bit, it can be kind of annoying to hide the wires, and in some cases there were posings that I wanted to do that I wasn't able to do. For example, Return of the Jedi Luke Hot Toys is notorious for being just a terrible figure to undress due to the way that it's sewn into the body, the outfit. And so I needed to run the wire through the arm, but I wasn't able to. DX07 Luke is a lot more manageable, but basically figures that have really tight-fitting clothes, like if you were doing a white CCFL tube for like an Ahsoka, where she doesn't really have sleeves, it would be kind of hard to hide those wires. I've seen people do it, but you just have to be very cognizant of how you pose your figures and the viewing angles that you're going to take when you're looking at your figures. Another con, like I said, is they can get quite warm if you want them at 100%, which is pretty easy to get around. I run them at 30%, and the heat is very manageable. It's nothing that, in my opinion, concerns me at this point. Another con that a lot of people say is the tips of these. They're not lit. And it's my understanding from talking with Lenny that there's a gas that's ignited to create the glow. And because it's a tube that is then put into a second tube, which is the colored portion, Lenny, what he does is he paints heat shrink tubing over the cold cathode tube to protect it. And basically, since you have that tube inside the heat shrink tubing, just by design, you can't have a fully lit cylinder of the cold cathode lighting. And if you look at installations of CCFL in computer towers, or, I think some people use it for cars, they all have those tips. It's just the design of the cold cathode tube doesn't allow for the full length of the saber to be lit. Now, is that annoying? Sure. Can you hide it with posing? Sure. I don't think that the Hot Toy sabers look that good, the LED sabers, and I think that while these cold cathode tubes have the issue where the tip isn't lit, I think the Hot Toys sabers have the opposite problem, where the tip is the part of the saber that's lit the most, because that's where the light bounces back into the LED. You can see here I have a Hot Toys lightsaber. This is from Anakin Skywalker, and this is a fresh set of batteries. So let's turn this on, and you can see it is lit. You can see what I mean by the tip being the brightest portion. It's kind of hard to tell that it's lit because the other sabers are in the background, but you can kind of see here it is fully lit. Like I said, this is a fresh set of batteries with the Hot Toys saber, but putting this saber next to the Anakin saber here, you can see that it almost doesn't even look lit. What I'll do is, Alexa, turn off the cabinet lights. that doesn't work either. Alexa, turn off the accessory lights. So you can see here, this is kind of okay for lighting. Alexa, turn on the accessory lights. But you can see when we power everything on how much brighter these are. I will do a demonstration of my wiring setup for the Alexa stuff at another time, but you can just see like how much more light this puts out than this. And if you were to have a scene with Luke and Vader, you're going to get just an amazing amount of realism from these CCFL lights that frankly the Hot Toys Saber won't be able to replicate. Now that we got everything powered back on, I just wanted to close with a few more remarks. Like I said, Lenny Hugh, excellent guy to work with, highly recommend him. He's booked until February, but anytime after that, I'm pretty sure he'd be happy to take on your commission. Now that we got the cabinet turned back on, I just wanted to close with a few more remarks. Lenny Hugh is the guy that I recommended. I will put a link to his Facebook down below. Really good guy to work with. Like I said, he had a guy that sent him I think he said it was 24 sabers to work on, and so he's really booked completing that project. But after February, I believe he'd be happy to take on your commissions. I know he has, let's see, red, blue, white, green, and purple blades that he can make with his stock, and he's told me that because he has the white blade, he could technically make any color, although your mileage may vary, and it'd be probably best to get with him to see about a custom color. I know on his Facebook page he's also been attempting a cross-bladed saber for Kylo Ren, although I'm not sure where he's at with that project now, or if it's been abandoned due to the large commission that he's working on. And I do know that that I believe he does make the double-bladed sabers for a Darth Maul character. Those are definitely possible. But yeah, like I said, there's guides out there if you want to make your own to try to save some money. But I'm kind of a busy guy, so the price that Lenny offered, which was the $90 plus the hilt and shipping, it just wasn't really worth it for me to buy all the equipment to do it, although I'm sure I could and potentially save a little bit of money. Now, one question I did have asked on the Facebook Tashi Station Facebook group was running multiple sabers off of one power supply, and the Anakin that's here on the right, and let me pan back just a little bit, and the Luke here on the, I guess the bottom right, those are both run off the same power supply. So you definitely can run these off of, one power supply. And, they work perfectly fine. The Luke and the Vader aren't, just because just the way I set up the boxes. The Vader blue box, which is like the inverter for the cold cathode, is all the way over there, and the Luke's wiring didn't, I just didn't really want to bring it all the way over there. But you definitely can run two of these off of one inverter box. I don't know if you can run multiple inverter boxes off of one power supply, but the way that I have it is pretty much everything in my cabinet that's lit. So I have the Darth Vader base, the Darth Vader battery chest, wall power, the 4 cold cathode sabers, the Boba Fett base, and the Emperor Palpatine throne. Those are all wall powered as well. So I have all those plugged into one power strip, and then I have that power strip plugged into a smart outlet, and then that is all hooked into my Alexa. So you definitely can plug, these into a power strip to have them all controlled by one timer. But like I said, I don't know exactly about running multiple inverters off of one power supply, in series or parallel. I don't really know anything about that, but, at least for these two here, they're both run off of one power supply. The power supplies that I got from Lenny are different than the power supplies I got from pixel piper, but functionally, you know, you plug them in, they turn on. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to show you a video here right now, which is sort of what you get when you receive a cold cathode. And in that video, you'll see the saber. They're usually packed in like a toothbrush holder, like a travel toothbrush holder, which is obviously a firm plastic to protect the blade. And then you have the inverter box, the dimmer, and then the power supply. And it's pretty straightforward. You know, you get the saber and you plug that into the inverter. The inverter plugs into the dimmer, and then the dimmer plugs into the power supply. So it's pretty straightforward to set up. If anyone has any questions, you know, when they're setting theirs up, please let me know. But yeah, these are really great ways to upgrade your collection. You know, they are a little pricey, don't get me wrong, but you know, I really think the value that they add to your cabinet is just incredible. We'll close on one shot with the cabinet lights off and the cold cathodes on, so you can see how amazing they look for the collection. But yeah, pretty much this is kind of my cold cathode selection. Please enjoy this last clip of the cabinet lights off with the sabers on, and then I'll show you at the end of this video the clip of the cold cathode unboxing, so you can get an idea of what you're going to get and what you need to manage with putting it into your Detolf or your Billy or whatever you might have. Alexa, turn off the cabinet lights. And wow, that looks so cool. It's just really awesome. Like I really don't think there's a better look, you know, to your collection than having some of these sabers in there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I know it's a little bit long video, but I hope you guys were able to learn something. If you have any comments, leave them down below, and I will answer them as I can. And like I said, here's a video of what you get when you unbox them, and hopefully you learned something today.
Okay, so here was what was in the box. So we have some power supplies. This case held these lightsabers. I got a Luke and an Anakin, 2 dimmers, 2 cold cathode power supply converters, these extension kits here, and some wiring hooks, which I asked and received